Blog Talk Radio.
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Nature of Reality Radio. It is December 10th, 2015, the night before a new moon. This is your host, Andrew Fisher, broadcasting Wednesdays from the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to expose the true and false nature of reality for what it is and what it isn't. Today we have a Thursday show because Tara Goldenberg, the guest on the show today, had to do some sort of a healing session yesterday, and she forgot about that, so she asked me to postpone it by a day, and I did just that for her. And I met her at, I believe it was, actually I'm not sure if I met her at the Free Your Mind conference or the Mount Shasta conference that I was at recently. But the title of the show is Using Reiki, Handmade Jewelry, and Energy Work to Empower Soul. Tara is a certified massage therapist with over 15 years experience with a focus on energy and chakra work, Reiki Level 2 certified. I'll ask her what Level 2 exactly means when I have her on. She is also an artist, photographer, vintage collector, all incorporated into her jewelry making, and she sells her jewelry on Etsy.com, and as well as artistry. Her website is vivaciousvariations.etsy.com. That's VIVACIOUSVARIATIONS.ETSY.com, where a lot of her jewelry is for sale, and there are some specific jewelry that is better than others for the work that she does. I will. She's on the queue yet. I will get her on hopefully at no later than 10 after the hour. It's 6:01 p.m. now Eastern. But first, as usual, we will do the news courtesy of Alex Jones and Company at InfoWars. Just give me a second here to get to the home page. Sorry, I didn't have it loaded up already. But here we go. First article. U.S. jobless claims at 5-month high, import prices fall. Yes, I guess this has something to do with unemployment. We know that they've been lying to us about how much unemployment there actually is in the country. The powers that be have lied to us. Our media has lied to us. Our governments lied to us. Lies, lies, lies. Oh, the lies. Makes you sick. So it's at a 5-month high, it says. Import prices, they're falling. No shock there either. I mean, one thing when it comes to import and export, Donald Trump in his recent interview on the Alex Jones show was talking about what we should be doing with oil and such. Well, I'll tell you what we should be doing with oil. We should be making oil obsolete and replacing it with technology that we have that can make oil obsolete easily, technology that can allow cars to run on water all across the country and all. So, yeah, but I'm digressing a little bit. But, of course, Trump can't talk about that because then he'll end up like Jack Kennedy did. Bullet to the head. All right, next article. Putin declares war on Monsanto. Yes, what is going on with Vladimir Putin? Well, David Wilcock, in a recent presentation he gave, talked about how he thinks that Vladimir Putin is actually meeting with benevolent extraterrestrials. So it appears that if that's true, then that means that the Illuminati controlling extraterrestrials, Greys, reptilians, and such, have lost significant control over Vladimir Putin, and now the good aliens are taking control of Putin to a great extent and maybe even meeting with him. David Wilcock went as far as suggesting that Putin is meeting with good ETs up in outer space, and the powers that be, I guess, aren't assassinating him like they killed Kennedy because all the good aliens would make life really miserable for them. So, but anyway, I'm getting a little off subject here. Declaring war on Monsanto, not allowing Monsanto to be in Russia, that's certainly positive. But of course, American politicians are not gonna do that so easily because the Illuminati ETs still control them to a great extent. So, all right, enough of that. Let's go to the next article. Intelligence professional, quote, intelligence professional, unquote, says NSA deserves trust, power, and its bulk phone metadata collection bank. I was actually reading this article shortly before the show. This professional, Wilton, something like that is his name, he is totally clueless. Some of the quotes he talks about says that it is within the Constitution what the NSA does, but it obviously isn't. It violates not just the 4th and the 5th, but some of the other amendments too. And he actually is so stupid he thinks that the terrorist attacks that are used to justify the NSA surveillance system are genuine terrorist attacks when in fact they are false flags. But of course he's a sheeple, so he's not going to say that. We should also send letters to this guy telling him, listen, you fucking asshole, you got this all wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. The NSA does not do what it does for the reasons we're told it does. Terrorist attacks are not what we're told they are. maybe he's just a hatchet man for the New World Order. The next article, activist demands Chicago police be defunded. That's a quote, police be defunded, unquote. So, well, is having police wrong? It's not wrong. It's not bad if the police understand that the one and only job of police is to keep the peace, so says Black's Law Dictionary. Your job is not to catch criminals, police. Catching criminals is just something that comes about as a result of your one and only job of keeping the peace. So if police could understand that, then there would be no need to abolish the police. There wouldn't even be a need to defund the police, of course. That raises all the question of where the police get their money, and anybody who's listened to my show knows that I love making reference to that Secrets Police Don't Want You to Know video. That's what it's called. It's called Secrets Police Don't Want You to Know on the Alex Jones channel. Shows how the police and the government and the car insurance companies steal billions from us by making us making us believe that certain laws apply to us when in fact they don't apply to us. They only apply to those in commerce, and the statutes are written in a confusing, tangled up manner to make it seem like they say A when they actually say F to scam us into obeying laws that don't apply to us, but that's a whole new other story. So every activist has their own reason for believing the Chicago police should be defunded. Check out this article if you want to learn about that. Next article, poll. Most voters in U.S. agree with Trump on the Muslim ban. Okay, well, Donald Trump, I don't really know what to make of what this Muslim ban, why he believes what he believes upon it. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as saying that Donald Trump is anti-Muslim or anti-Islam, but maybe he is to some degree going along with the lie that is 9/11 and the other terrorist attacks that were not staged by Islamic terrorists, but were staged by forces within the government. And well, I mean, there's no question there's a plot by the New World Order to bring illegal immigrants into this country, a lot of them being refugees and Muslims from Syria. And but an all-out ban, and why Trump wants to go that far, I don't know, you have to ask him. But I mean, there are people there who, some people say Donald Trump is definitely not establishment to the extent that he used to be, and seems to be leaving the dark side and joining the good side. I mean, some people like Mr. Cat Eye, who I love watching his coded videos and such, or videos where he exposes codes, I should say, he says Donald Trump would be no more or less better or worse than Hillary Clinton. You don't want a multi-billionaire like Donald Trump as president. It's much better to have like a little guy in the presidency, if you know what I mean. So, all right, the one last article here: ISIS versus El Chapo. Really don't know what that's all about. I'm guessing El Chapo. Well, actually, you know what? Since I got a couple minutes here, it says a leader of the Sinaloa cartel threatens terror group. El Chapo is the leader of the Sinaloa cartel who has threatened ISIS after they destroyed one of his drug shipments. Well, the U.S. government controls ISIS, which for all intents and purposes is the same as Al-Qaeda, and they're going to use ISIS to destroy drug shipments of people that pose a threat to the drug cartels that are controlled by the New World Order, which ultimately controls ISIS. So I see how it works, and people, you need to wake up to this. I know it's grim, but you got to talk about this stuff to wake people up. And then eventually you can start talking about really far out things, like maybe some of the things we'll talk about on this show. But with that being said, I have a couple of people in the queue here. It's Greg Mason. If you do have a question, I don't think I will be taking calls until 7:15 Eastern, which is in an hour and 7 minutes. But, hey, that may change. But by all means, please stay in the queue if you have a question. I'll definitely make sure to get you on. But I see that there is a 267 area code. Oh, that's my area code. See if that's area code 267. Is this Tara? Tara Goldenberg?
It is.
How you doing? So you actually live in the area?
I do.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, 267. That's this area. So I met you at the Free Your Mind conference or the Mount Shasta conference. I'm assuming it was Free Your Mind.
Free Your Mind.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, I looked at some of your jewelry on Etsy.com. It sure looks fancy and all, but we're going to be talking about a lot more stuff than just jewelry in this show. But I think we'll start off with a bang and get on that subject first, as it is your specialty. And this won't necessarily be a save the best for last episode, but I'll try to make everything seem like it's the best. So, but anyway, jewelry. You sell it on Etsy.com, like I said, and your jewelry is designed to empower the soul. So this is a radio show, so it's not like I can show up a picture of every single jewelry you do. I do have some pictures in the queue, although I only put a couple in there because I wanted to get some other pictures on the slide. But as far as your jewelry goes, if you want to turn this into a sales pitch, that's okay with me. Let us know what kind of jewelry you make, what kind of jewelry is good for what. And, well, I'm just going to give you the floor to talk about this. What do you see in jewelry that is so special? Why should people get your jewelry specifically?
Okay. Well, let me first start by saying thank you very much for having me on the show tonight.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. And basically, my jewelry, the jewelry that I make, incorporates a little bit of new, old, spiritual, a whole bunch of different elements within each piece. And each piece is one of a kind and unique. And I think what I'd like to focus on, I think what we set out to focus on for tonight was speaking about how specifically certain jewels, whether they're mine or not, crystals in general, can help and stimulate the healing of the body, the mind, and the soul.
That's fine. I'm going to be on mute whenever you're talking, just so you know. So, okay. So I'm actually taking a look at the pictures here of the kind of jewelry you got, and you got. Do you sell a little bit of all kinds, like necklaces, earrings, bracelets, the whole kit and caboodle? And if so, can you give us enlighten us maybe on the science behind whether or not putting a piece of jewelry on a certain part of your body would affect you any more or less than it would if you put it on another part of your body?
Absolutely. And what you're looking at now on Etsy is just a very small fraction of the inventory I have. A lot of my items, like I said, all of my items are one of a kind, and a lot of them are sold at craft shows and fairs and are in different stores around the city. So what you see on there is just a small fraction. However, what I use, the stones I use, are energetically charged, so to speak. Myself, I am a Reiki practitioner, and I study many forms of energy work, including chakras, which I'm assuming everyone knows who's listening to this program what a chakra is, but a basic explanation, the word is Sanskrit for wheel or cycle, and there's 7 basic chakras that are in our bodies, and they're all aligned, going from the top of our head all the way down our spine to the root, our tailbone. And each one represents a different color. And within that color and within that chakra, there are healing modalities that one can use and apply to help heal certain ailments. So I tend to incorporate these particular gems associated with a particular chakra, and that will help someone with a certain ailment, perhaps. And just wearing the jewelry and focusing on the energy that one is receiving from it, I believe, starts the healing process. Now, of course, it's not going to totally heal you of all your problems, but there are many other things that you can do to incorporate along with wearing my jewelry or using these crystals or stones that will really help enhance your life.
Yeah, since we got a full 2-hour show, we got a lot of things to discuss in this span, and I think one of the best ways to make the most of this show is give you the chance to enlighten us on the specific science behind how different types of crystals and gemstones work. I mean, there's obviously thousands of different types of crystals and gemstones in the end, and I mean, not that any store would specifically sell thousands, because they really want to get the best ones out, like quartz and amethyst and such. But in regards to, even though I've talked about this on previous shows with some other people that do crystal work, it only makes sense to keep talking about it because it's one of those things that just bears repeating. Tell us about the science and the magic behind certain crystals and gemstones. Take as much time as you want. Talk about maybe every single crystal and gemstone that you can think of that you sell in your jewelry and what it specifically does for you. You got the floor. Enlighten us.
Okay. I'm going to, by no means am I an expert in gemstones. This is something that's rather new to me, but I've been a student of energy work and different healing modalities my entire life. So once again, I'm going to incorporate it with chakras and then talk about each stone with each chakra. Okay? I think that's the best way to go about this. Starting with the first chakra, which is our root chakra, and that is at the base of our spine. That color that we associate with that chakra is red. Okay? And within my jewelry and within different stones that will help heal certain elements associated with that chakra, you have the basic hematite. Everyone's seen hematite. It's very common. It's a shiny, dark stone, almost looks like a magnet or a piece of metal. And that helps in grounding. It helps free mental limitations. Different other ones, smoky quartz. Now, neither of those two are red, oddly enough, but there are some of the exceptions. But smoky quartz, it helps in grounding. Quartz in general is just an overall, and you had mentioned that, an overall wonderful healing crystal. We have some red ones, agate. That's going to enhance self-esteem, assertiveness. It's going to balance all those energies. And all those things that I mentioned, assertiveness, limitations, feeling blocked, needing grounding, those are things that are associated with the root chakra. Okay, fight or flight, stability, security, things like that. So I believe, and others believe, that if you incorporate the color and these stones along with foods, mantras, exercises, there's all sorts of different things, but we'll keep it at this point to stones. If you would wear these stones and incorporate them into your daily life, it is said, and I myself have been able to prove this, I've been able to overcome many ailments just by holding on to a crystal or a stone and really concentrating and meditating with it. So that's the red, that's the root chakra. And the next one moving up is the sacral chakra, and that is associated with that beautiful orange color. That's our second chakra, and that is basically deals with relationships, emotional needs, pleasures, joys, addictions to the extreme. Stones that are going to help heal that or balance that chakra are stones like citrine, yellow or amber citrine especially. Citrine, it often helps with openness in relationships, in love. It helps support emotional security, all things that, obviously are necessary to have a good and healthy relationship. So you're going to want to incorporate citrine. Keep it somewhere on your body. If you're not wearing it in a piece of jewelry, you could just carry the stone in your pocket. You could hold it. You could put it on your desk, whatever, you get the point. Let's see, what other yellow ones do we have that are really good? We have, not yellow, orange, a carnelian. That dispels negativity, dispels apathy, promotes energy, helps overcome emotionally challenging situations. Let's see, we have topaz, wonderful way to stimulate and energize yourself. Okay, trying to keep it brief here. And let's see, the third chakra is our solar plexus chakra, and that's your yellow, based on the color yellow. And that has a lot to do with personal power and growth and feeling a sense of self. Stones that are going to work with that, again, citrine is also good, yellow citrine. That's going to help you, especially if you're trying to overcome an addiction, like if you're trying to quit smoking or just you want to maybe, say, meditate more every day. Something like having a citrine to focus on will really help. We have malachite. That's great for inducing dreams, something that you would, keep by the bedside. What else? Calcite, again, that helps if you're having like certain ailments with the kidneys or the pancreas. Sunstone is also another wonderful one. And all of these, you can, if you just type in the name, you can buy these crystals or these gemstones, or you can also have them in jewelry in different pieces like that. Where are we at? The fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra. And that is, that to me is a really, really important chakra. It's such a healing chakra. It's the one that I do the most work with. And I'm a massage therapist and a Reiki practitioner, and I use the heart chakra and the stones associated with this commonly on my clients. So I can say that this is definitely a wonderful, wonderful stone to use, and that is rose quartz. And while that isn't green and it is a pink stone, it is directly associated with this chakra. It is the top healing, in my opinion, top healing crystal out there. And it helps with emotional wounds, dealing with deep tragedies. It helps uplift. It helps, self-love, recovery, things like that. I have a lot of my jewelry has rose quartz incorporated into it, and that's going to be, a wonderful gift for someone who's trying to overcome something, or someone who's been sick and is trying to give them emotional and physical well-being. Other ones are jade. That is wonderful for stability, for love. If you're feeling threatened or alone, jade is the one to go to. Calcite, green calcite is great. Calcite's wonderful along with quartz, and each, calcite has a lot of different colors, so you just want to go by the color, and again, associate the color with the chakra, and that's what's going to do the healing. Calcite helps with emotional wounds, especially, dealing with the heart chakra. You're dealing with wounds from the past or relationship wounds, things like that would really inhibit you maybe in furthering your relationship or something like that. That's the type of stone you're going to want to use. That's the type of earrings you're going to want to buy your girlfriend if you guys are in a fight, something like that. And again, I have all these on my website, and there's going to be more coming, definitely. What else? Should I keep going?
Yeah, by all means. We got a couple more chakras, don't we?
We do. I just like I'm rambling. Okay. Where are we at? We're at the fourth chakra. So then we're going to go to our fifth chakra, which is our throat chakra. And that is where we, again, have a lot of our personal power, but where we take it, where we feel it maybe in that third chakra, the solar plexus, we now are, with our fifth chakra, our throat chakra, we're now speaking it. We're now speaking our truth and communicating it. And hopefully it's something that we do with ease, but there's often times when we're not able to communicate. We're not able to say how we feel, and that's when you're going to want to turn to healing this chakra through stones, anything that's blue. And there's a lot of gorgeous blue stones out there. Some of my favorites are, of course, turquoise. That helps with inspiration, helping to translate, what you might intuitively feel and being able to translate it to the world through self-expression. Lapis lazuli, that's wonderful. It helps expand awareness. It's great for artists, people with writer's block, any artist that, you don't have to be having problems, obviously, to wear these stones or use these stones. I'm just making mention, of things that are common and things that, will help. But by all means, being in the best possible spot with these, this is only going to intensify the effects of the stones. So that's going to help expand awareness, help with artistic blocks, great with communication. What else? We have aquamarines, beautiful, calming stone when you need to calm down and center yourself when you have to do speaking. So basically, I need my aquamarine right now. But it's when you're speaking to a large crowd or a group of people, and you have it all in your head, but as far as communicating it, that might not be the easiest thing to do for some of us, myself included. So aquamarine is where I would turn at this point. So I am going to grab some. This also is wonderful for purification. Let's move on. So we're coming up to the 6th chakra. Now we're moving up, obviously. This one is the 6th chakra, which is our third eye chakra. And this is represented by indigo, or purple, violet, some will call it. And that's our third eye. This is such an important chakra, not that any of them are less important or more important, but this one, I think, really, for me, is where I'm at right now. I'm dealing with my third eye chakra. I'm dealing with issues and trying to strengthen the trusting, the inner guidance, balancing, inner and outer, balancing the world and thought, and just trying to stay positive, but trusting that, you're on the right path. We have amethyst. That's one of my favorites. That's a great stone for meditation, which is so important. I always have an amethyst right by my windowsill, which is where my chair is, where I do my meditating every day. And I feel like it really helps. And I'll sometimes take it along to different clients if need be. Of course, I do a cleanse on all the stones before you purchase them, or before I do a treatment on you. So the energy is fresh. What else do we have? We have fluorite, a beautiful purple stone that helps with us receiving information that we, psychically receiving it and being able to translate it and understand it and trust it. That's it. Pretty much all of our purple stones that are out there are going to do a similar thing. And finally, we have the crown chakra, which is the 7th chakra, and it's at the top of the head. That's also represented by violet, but some represent it by white diamonds. Bright, it could even be a gold. It's just the brightest, most beautiful crystal or stone in the world. And basically, diamonds are associated with this. Obviously, or may not be obvious, but I'll explain. I don't have any diamonds in my jewelry that I'm selling on Etsy. I would love to be able to incorporate that someday, but you can use other stones, which I do, which are quartz. And again, quartz is all-purpose. It's great for meditation, great for healing, universal oneness, consciousness, just being aware. Diamonds basically are spiritual perfection within the way that it's described within the chakra elements. That's the highest stone that you could have. And if you have a diamond and you want to use it when you're meditating, all the better. It's just going to help open up that pituitary gland and basically get you to that highest point of where you want to be and being able to communicate with the world. Other ones are amethyst, again, that helps with meditation. And that's it. I feel like that pretty much summed it up.
Awesome. Love the explanation. I'll definitely want to check into this again if I ever want to buy some sort of jewelry. I know exactly where to go. But some other things about jewelry that maybe people are not so familiar with. You did touch a little bit on this when you talked about the color blue, but the different colors of jewelry. One might think that you would want to, like whatever color is represented by the chakra, the specific chakra, you would want jewelry that is that same color to resonate with the chakra, but that's not necessarily the case, obviously, because certain gemstones and crystals that are supposed to go with a certain chakra are not necessarily the color that is associated with that chakra. So I guess you got the floor to talk about the science behind how this works, the color of the jewelry, and how it factors into the work, the healing work, and all the spiritual work the jewelry is supposed to do.
Well, that's a great, point to bring up. And color is so important, I think, in everything. It highly affects us. And of course, I'm speaking of the quote-unquote science behind these stones and minerals and the colors and how they help heal and things like that. But of course, on a basic level, if you feel, when you walk up to something, if this is a piece of jewelry that you're attracted to, or this is the color car that you want. And there's science behind colors. There's so many different schools of thought behind color and how it affects us. And what I say is to go by what you feel, what feels best. And then of everything that I make has healing qualities to it. So if, and I have a lot of people who want specific things. Like they say, I'm depressed. Can you make me something that I can look at that's going to, and that's putting a tall order on me, but by all means, every time I make a piece of jewelry, sometimes it takes me, and I don't even mean to not unpromote myself, but when someone says, can you make me something, sometimes it takes me, and oftentimes they're patient, they'll say, take as long as you need. Sometimes it takes me, I'm still working on something for a friend, it's 2 years later, but I know that she's being patient because she wants it to be perfect. So the way that I work is through feeling. So sometimes I can sit down and in 30 minutes I can produce 15 pieces of jewelry. Other times I sit down and 3 hours pass by and I can't complete one pair of earrings. But I have lots of half-completed things that are just waiting for the right component. So I never push anything. And I think, that's what makes my jewelry special. It's really a timed process, and it's a labor of love. And I do have everything organized. I have thousands and thousands of stones and gems and different things, from vintage pieces to recycled pieces, and they're all organized by color. So we're coming back to color. I know that was the question. And they're all organized by color. And this was something I kind of, I guess you'd say subconsciously, even though I don't like to say subconsciously, but for all intents and purposes, we'll say subconsciously kind of organized these by color. And then it was only after that I realized, and started, and I've always knew about chakras, but I just for some reason never thought that I was incorporating them into my jewelry making. But in essence, I always was for the time I've been doing this. So not all colors, once again, represent what we would think. So there's colors like brown. There's no chakras that are brown. So you want to realize that when you have a color like brown or black, those are probably going to be associated with, the first or second chakra for the most part. Every brown or darker stone that I know is associated with the root or the sacral. And, of course, anyone correct me if I'm wrong. And then most of your lighter stones, while they can apply to several different chakras or different, healing modalities, they can be used interchangeably. Some that can use aquamarine in the, say, throat chakra, but we're also using it in the third eye chakra. So you can incorporate these, and often, while a lot of my jewelry is, I have, say, several strands of red gemstones and beads incorporated into one bracelet, and that's going to be specifically for your root chakra. I'll make some that have maybe red, blue, and purple, and that's going to work on the root chakra. It's going to work on the crown chakra. It's going to work on the throat chakra. So stones are all powerful for any chakra, for any modality. In general, stones are healing. Whatever color they are, doesn't really matter so much as, you might need healing in the first chakra, but you don't like the color red. Not really much that we can do about that, but there's other ways to heal that chakra. So you're not going to buy my red bracelet. That's fine. But I could tell you that, wearing patchouli or cedarwood or burning, incense of patchouli or cedarwood or myrrh is going to help balance that chakra. So there's other things that we can do. We don't like the color.
Thanks. And as part of the jewelry that doesn't is not the stone or the crystal or whatever, how much does that factor in? Because some people would say, well, if you got like a gemstone with a hook in it, just put a little rope around the thing and wear it. And others would say, no, you want to do better than a rope because like the energy vibrations of a beat up old rope is not the same as some other thing, like a string of some sort made of some special material that you can wrap around the gem hook to wear it. So how much does the things that you put on, like the hooks on the earrings to attach to the ear, or the strings or whatever it is that wraps around the necklaces, that's the part of the jewelry that's not either the crystal or the gemstone, how much does that factor into the work?
That's a really good question, and that is not necessarily something that I've put a lot of attention on in the fact of energetically speaking. So obviously certain things, like you said, are going to be of a higher energetic quality, say a piece of pure silk, maybe sterling silver or copper is one. Now, copper is one that I have thought about and I do use in a lot of my jewelry making for the findings, which is the hooks and the clasps and the things like that. Copper is has a strong vibrational quality to it. And again, this is going to depend on person to person. Someone might put on, but generally speaking, it works the same for everyone. But there are exceptions to the rule. Someone could put on copper and have a very negative experience. It's rare, but of course, there's always that. But yeah, I would imagine that using something like silk or copper or sterling silver is going to have a totally different vibrational force than an old piece of rope. But something about, and when you said that old piece of rope, I don't know, call me nostalgic or something, but there's life in that old piece of rope. There's something that's really special about that old piece of rope, perhaps. Depends. And I incorporate those types of things into my jewelry making as well. There's a whole other element to my making of jewelry. Besides the healing and the stones, there's also elements of bound items. There's upcycling. I'll take something that was a part of something that was from 1920s and use that in something with, a gemstone that's modern, that was made, recently. And I can tie all of it together, but it still goes on the same philosophy of it has to feel right to me as the maker, most importantly. So I'm not trying to make something for everyone. I'm just making something, and then the person that's meant to have that item, I truly believe this, will buy that item or buy it for someone. And that's how it works. So I don't know, you got me thinking. You got me thinking about all that stuff that I wasn't thinking about.
Happy to inspire you. And another thing about jewelry that we haven't talked about much yet, the shape of the jewelry. Different shapes have different energies, and not just like a regular polygon, like two-dimensional polygon that you would see on a paper or something, that you would turn that shape into a form of jewelry. I'm also talking about three-dimensional shapes like a merkaba or something like that. So when it comes to different shapes, geometrical shapes, polygons, and what have you, can you maybe enlighten us on the science behind what each different type of shape does and what kind of shape works well with which specific type of jewelry?
I wish I could, but I'm going to go off the cuff because I don't know what each shape, what I basically, again, go by is, and I hate to keep saying this, is by feeling. But there are certain symbols and shapes that mean things to certain people. And, of course, what does a circle mean? There's probably a million meanings symbolically as there are, to a star, and what that's going to mean to a lot of people. But does it, is it what I think a star means, when I'm making this bracelet and I'm putting a star on there, or is it what the recipient or the potential recipient thinks that flower means if I'm not there to explain it, or if I don't write a good explanation, or if it doesn't really matter what I say about it. So I don't know, but what I can say is that I use things like I do use a lot of circles in my jewelry. I'm looking at right now different things I'm working on. I use a lot of round medallions, and a lot of my bracelets have different they almost look like vintage coins, and they'll say things like inspire or travel and things like that, and I'll do hand painting patinas and different things on them. But hearts are a huge part of my jewelry. What does a heart mean? To me, it's love, it's life, it's everything. It's a symbol that represents, way more than just love. But for me, it's something that comes up in nature. I see hearts everywhere I go. There might be a cloud, there might be a little drop on the ground, and it's a heart. So I think that it's what it means to you and how it makes you feel. I use a lot of natural elements like leaves, a lot of leaves in my jewelry here. I have a little pendant that has a bird on it. So I guess I'm inspired by flowers. A lot of this is flowers. So as far as the shapes, I don't really know what they mean. But I do know there's obvious like sacred geometry, things like that. I do incorporate a lot of those symbols into my jewelry. I don't know what they mean, though. I know how they make me feel. So.
Well, I guess if you keep paying attention to how they make you feel, that will only expand your knowledge of what they exactly what the shapes do. I'm not an expert on it either, but there's definitely some truth to the idea that certain different types of sacred geometry will have different effects on you. So just keep your senses open to that, and I'm sure maybe in the future it'll help you incorporate what kind of jewelry you make and such. But speaking of making jewelry for different things, have you ever considered making jewelry for the chakras that are outside the 7 chakras that we are known to have? Because in this day and age, everybody's talking about consciousness expansion. They're talking about how other chakras that besides the 7 that we know of are being activated. And one might think, well, and if that's the case, maybe I should start looking into what kind of jewelry and stuff I can make to accommodate those chakras. Have you done that, or is that not something that you even thought about at this point?
It's basically when I was gathering, my thoughts for this evening, for what I would speak about. Of course, like I said, the 7 main chakras are the ones that you hear and see about in your everyday when you come across chakras. Those are the ones I spoke about. Those are the ones you see. But like you said, there's countless number of chakras that are supposed to be, within our body and within the world. 80,000, something like that, energy centers, and there's different schools of energy. So I'm fascinated by it. And if, to answer your question, no, I have not thought of a way to make jewelry for those other 80,000 chakras. But I think that the most important thing that I try to do with my jewelry is, and with my everyday life and everything that I do, I may not always be successful at it, but I think that the answer is, a balance of mind, body, and spirit. We have to treat all of those things. We cannot just say, something's wrong with my mind and I'm all right, I'll take this medicine, and my body, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. You have to, in my opinion, and for me, you have to incorporate all 3 when you're dealing with anything and with everything. So if there's anything that my jewelry does and my artistry does, is it incorporates those on some level. And I've always have positive feedback in regards to anything that any item I've sold or any energy work or massage that I do. And just, I hear so relaxing. I just feel calm, in your presence, or I feel calm when I wear these earrings, or I feel inspired, or I feel motivated. So they use words like that, like action words, verbs, and that's wonderful. That's all I could hope for. And it's not even me. It's the energy that's there behind that. I don't want to take credit for anything. It's energy. It's all energy, and I'm just allowing it to be translated in the medium, be it jewelry or whatever.
And one thing about jewelry that I would actually like a little bit of enlightenment on this, because I had a little bit of a freak incident with jewelry in the not too distant past. What I'm talking about is I had Psychic Farusha on my show, and she noticed from the way I was speaking that I had some sort of she claims I had a blockage in the energy area of my body between the throat chakra and the heart chakra. The throat chakra was pressing down on the heart chakra, which was preventing me from being able to fully speak from my heart, and was like I was forcing out my delivery, like I had like almost like I had a sense of anger to it. So what Farusha wanted to do, she wanted to help me out. She gave me a certain necklace which had 3 different types of stones. One was quartz, there was blue topaz, and then there was some sort of other stone that was a grounding stone of some sort. And she told me, wear this, have it down by the area between your throat and your heart chakra on your chest, and it will hopefully over the course of maybe a couple weeks or so clear up the blockage. Well, I think it actually did work pretty well, and I eventually realized that the time had come for me to take that necklace off, when just by a little bit of an accident of some sort, the necklace got caught on something that was stuck on my shirt, like a twig or something, and the part of the necklace that held the stones to the rope part like broke off, and I couldn't wear it anymore. And I interpret that as a sign that, okay, you can take this necklace off now, because the blockage that Farusha was talking about has been cleared. However, before then, the first thing that happened when I put that necklace on, when I got it in the mail, after I put the necklace on, I started having like a bad emotional outburst of some sort. I found myself shouting to myself over something came to my head. I don't know what it was, but it made me really angry. And even though I was all by myself in my room, I started shouting about it. And then my mother actually called me on the phone and said, "You all right? I heard you shouting inside your house or something." And I said, "Yeah, everything's cool." But the funny thing is, this happened right after I put the necklace on, and I couldn't help but wonder, did that happen to me because my body could not handle necessarily the shock to the system that came from the necklace. So for just a brief moment, the lasting a couple minutes, I started having bad thoughts, bad visions, and even verbalized a couple of outbursts to myself, even though I wasn't actually talking to anybody. Is it possible that, well, that's my hunch, my hypothesis anyway, but is that possible that jewelry that's supposed to help you and calm you down could have the opposite effect when you put it on, because your body cannot handle the shock to the system for just a brief moment that comes from the jewelry?
Well, that's a really interesting story, and I would say, it could be a combination of a lot of different things, but absolutely, because that's what you're feeling, and I always say to go with your intuition. So if you feel like that's what caused that outburst, then that's probably what potentially triggered it. But within all, healing, what's the quote? Chaos precedes enlightenment. And I think that that's basically what happened. And I know that during the Free Your Mind conference, I got a stone from a gentleman that was selling stones there. And it was meant to bring up emotional healing, dealing with past traumas and issues. And, I'm holding on to this stone, and I'm really... I wasn't really paying attention because I was doing different things at the conference and selling jewelry. And sure enough, the following day, the second day into the conference, I awoke and I had a little bit of a meltdown. I just started thinking about things that I maybe didn't want to think about right then and there at the conference, when I had to go down and be bubbly and deal with people. Fine if I'm sitting in my room all day doing my work, that's a different story. But if I'm, out dealing with the public, I was also doing massage at the time. I don't like to, be in a place where I'm feeling negative. It helped me. It brought up things. And I think that's what happened with you, brought up issues or it made, if it didn't bring up issues, it brought up something that made you, have an emotion and a release. And of course, if anybody feels that any, piece of jewelry or any item at all, is doing something that's negative, then there's no point in having it around you because you've already decided it's negative. So it doesn't matter how, powerful it is. Your mind, the power of your mind, is a lot stronger potentially than that stone. So if you believe, that it's causing a negative reaction, then it's best to take it off and get it out of your house, or at least do a cleansing. And a lot of times, I always recommend when you buy a crystal or you buy a stone from a person or from a store, you order it online or you order, the jewelry from me, whatever. But I'm talking more importantly about, a specific or something like that, a crystal that you buy in the store and you're going to use for a specific purpose. You're going to want to do a cleansing with that. And there's ways to cleanse stones. Type it into Google, a million ways. The ways that I do cleansing my stones, my crystals that I use in my daily work, I put those, I do full moon baths with them. I put them in salt water, place them outside in the nice weather during a full moon. I'll also put them in my windowsill. There's different ways that you can clean stones through baths, through energy work. You can take the stone and you can hold it down, put it in your hand and hold it down as low as your hand, will dangle. So basically that's right around your, depending on how long your arm is, your belly button and your root chakra. And that's where I like to cleanse a lot of my stones, if it's in the moment and it's not, you're not going to bathe it, put it out in the moonlight overnight. You just want to take that stone, you want to hold it there at that point, and that's where I learned through my teacher how to cleanse a stone, by holding it at that point until you feel a difference energetically, and you will. When you pick up a stone, most of the time, especially if it's a real stone, you're going to feel something. It's either going to be hot or cold, and not the second you touch it, but as soon as you hold it in your hand for 15 seconds, you're going to feel something. It's probably going to get hot. So I think that's what happened, to get back to your story, and I find it interesting. What did it go away? Do you feel like it helped, or?
Oh yeah, definitely. That was just about the only downside to that one, that when a couple of minutes after I put it on, or no, like it was less than a minute after I put it on, I had emotional problems going on in my mind for about a minute or so, which caused me to scream out loud as if I was arguing with someone when there was nobody actually in the room with me. So, yeah, but it was all uphill since. And do you think that makes sense, what I said earlier about how when the necklace got caught on a twig or a little piece of wood that was stuck in my shirt that I didn't know was there, and then when I tried to yank it and pull my necklace away from that, it caused the ring in the stone that connects it to the rope to like pull apart, so that if I were to keep wearing the necklace, it might fall off. And I said, well, maybe this is a sign that I don't have to wear this anymore because the blockage has been opened. And then at which point I took the stones off the necklace, and then I just scatter them around my house like I do with some other crystals and gemstones. But anyway, is that possible? Have you ever heard of something like that happening, where an accident of sorts with the jewelry can be interpreted as a sign that you don't need to wear this jewelry anymore because its purpose has been fulfilled?
Absolutely. I absolutely think that's what occurred for you, and validated by the fact that you feel that. I always say go with that feeling of your initial feeling, your gut feeling of why that jewelry broke. But yeah, I use that philosophy in my life. If something breaks or something happens to something, whether it's jewelry or anything, if I'm in a traffic jam or I'm lost money, out of my pocket, there's a reason why it happened. And while we may not know that reason, you knew that reason why that jewelry broke. So it was clear. But oftentimes things happen to us and we never know, or we don't know for years why it happened. And then we look back and we're like, oh, yeah, that's why that happened. I can see really clearly now why that happened to me. And I think that's, what you're saying, and I absolutely agree with that. And I think it's more than jewelry. It's everything that happens in our life.
Yes, and you mentioned putting jewelry out in full moonlight because people say that's a good way to heal it. Well, I'd like to compare and contrast here. I'd like to compare and contrast putting jewelry and gemstones, crystals out in the light of a full moon, out in the light of a sun during noon, and also not necessarily a full moon, but putting it out during the new moon maybe, because some would say that the new moon, even though it's not actually out at night, it's out during the day. That's why you can't see it. But the starlight, because during a new moon, the starlight is brighter than it could ever be, and some say that the starlight can actually cleanse and heal jewelry and gemstones. So, could you please compare and contrast the pros and cons, if there are cons, maybe, to using the sun, the new moon, and the full moon, and just plain starlight to cleanse and heal crystals, gemstones, and jewelry?
That's a really good question, and I'm not going to act like I know the answer to that, but I am going to again say that whatever, and of course there's different schools on this. You've got Wiccan, there's spells, there's different reasons, seasons and solstices and stars. There's different reasons for everything potentially that we do, and there's spirit animals and signs and symbols, and there's so much, and it's so fascinating. And I wish that I knew everything about everything, and it just inspires me every day to wake up and learn more about everything. But the method I use for clearing my stones is, like I said, during the full moon. And to me, the full moon represents everything at its peak and just at the point, kind of like where you were when you had that 1 minute crazy outburst, and then it was all uphill since then. And that's kind of what the full moon means to me. It represents to a lot of people. And that also could be, a symbol, that symbol of the circle I kept talking about. Circle is the chakra. It's a full moon. It's the symbol of life. It's that everlasting, repeating thing, and it's powerful. And the power within it, to me, putting a stone out in the full moon is going to clear it of any negative energy that it may have absorbed, if you believe that it does do that, which I definitely do. Any energy that it may have absorbed is going to be released. That same thing, though, you can release that energy by doing that simple exercise by holding your hand down by your root chakra as well. So there's many different ways. But if it's a larger crystal, it's something you can't maybe put in your hand, one of those giant ones that you see out there, the ones that I would love if anyone wants to get me for Christmas. But yeah, so there's so many different ways, and I don't know what putting it out in the sunlight or, under a constellation or, a planetary alignment, I'm sure going to just enhance it even more.
Well, it has been said that the full moon would be the best way to cleanse crystals and gemstones, even better than the hot blazing sun out in the middle of the day. I'm guessing that might have something to do with the fact that full moons are a once in every 28-day rarity, and that in of itself gives much more energy to the cleansing. Or is that true, or is there possibly some other reason why the full moon would be the best time to do it?
No, well, it's like I said, along with what you said, it's the period of release. It's that 28-day cycle that things have built up, and now you're allowing them to release and start new. So that is why we use the full moon, and the energy is the strongest during the full moon. The full moon, the tides, everything's all connected. Again, I don't want to say something that's not right, but this is how I feel. By no means am I an expert.
We do have a new moon out tonight. I probably should have, before having you on, read the astrological forecast. Maybe I'll do that at the end of the show, right before putting it away.
May I ask what your birthday is?
April 7th, 1986, date of birth.
I knew it. I knew you were an Aries. I knew it.
Well, I'm a Pisces in sidereal astrology. Let's keep that
in
mind,
yes.
too.
Yeah. If you do that, if you follow that. But something about, I don't know, I just had a funny feeling you were an Aries. But we don't need to go down that road unless of course, you want to. But I was just curious. Being a fellow fire sign here, Leo, we have that in common.
Yeah, sorry, the mute button took forever to get
That's
unmuted
okay.
for some reason there. But yeah, so I guess we do have time. We could go into astrology for just a little bit. But I still want to stick with this jewelry thing for a moment because I had when I had Stuart Swerdlow on my show, he made one of the more controversial claims about like jewelry and things like that when he actually used the word crutch to describe what jewelry and like things like Egyptian healing rods. I like using Egyptian healing rods too, and any sort of jewelry, gemstone, or any tool like that to enhance your spiritual abilities. He actually went as far as calling that stuff a crutch. His argument was your infinite consciousness. Why would you need something like a crystal or a gemstone or Egyptian healing rods to enhance your abilities when you already have everything because you're infinite? Now, a lot of people, including a lot of people who do stuff like what you do, would hear that and say, you have got to be kidding me. I mean, to not use jewelry and gemstones and crystals and things like Egyptian healing rods when you have them, you're missing out on all the fun. I mean, to suggest that it's a crutch is going way overboard. But do you, are you or are you not of the opinion that maybe it is often like in your best interest if you get jewelry or gemstones for spiritual work, then at a certain point, maybe you should stop using them because at some point there comes a time when maybe you don't need them. So what's the sense in having them, in which case maybe Stuart does have a point when he calls it a crutch. Do you agree or disagree, for lack of a better question?
You know what? I both agree and I disagree, and I'll explain. Because I think anything is a crutch. It could be jewelry, but it could be ibuprofen. So if I feel like I want to treat my depression by wearing rose quartz and working with my heart chakra, to me, that's less of a crutch than the alternative by taking, an antidepressant or whatever, Paxil, like that, Prozac. But that's not what he meant either. And I know what he meant. And, of course, we are infinite beings, and we already know everything that there is that we need to know, and all we need to do is trust and allow. And if we're using anything, be it religion or jewelry or medicine, alternative or Western medicine, still could potentially be a crutch. But it also, a crutch isn't necessarily a bad thing. Maybe we need that crutch to rehabilitate ourselves or to learn how to walk again. And it only becomes a bad thing when we never take the crutch away and we use the crutch forever. So if we know that we can use the crutch for 6 weeks, in medically speaking, for a real crutch, that will get better. The idea is not to, use the crutch and go buy a cane and then go buy a walker and then a wheelchair, obviously. So we always want to not depend on something external to provide us with anything, whether it's healing or not. But not everyone understands that, believes that, whether they may understand it, but they may not believe that. And possibly the rose quartz, when they wear it, empowers them to the point that it helps them. And it's a good thing. It's a good crutch because it's helping them. And it's the same thing as like what happened to you when it ripped off and it broke. You had a really great response of being like, okay, I guess I'm not meant to wear this anymore. Probably did what it was supposed to do. And now I'm going to scatter the stones about my house. Or you could have, just kept them in your pocket. Or you could have buried them. You could have thrown them away. It could have dropped. And people lose things all the time and they don't find them on their shirts. Gone forever. But the way you handled it was what was perfect about that situation. So it only becomes a crutch when we have a negative response when it's taken away from us. and we feel like we can't survive without it. So whether it's jewelry or anything, something that we, really want to avoid or try to avoid.
Thank you very much. Again, this is an agree to disagree type of subject, but since you said it's a little bit of both, and I guess it's a point of view issue, and that's the way people should look at it. By the way, since I just mentioned it, I think what the hell, I'll just take a moment here to just point out the significance behind the new moon for those that are dying to know. The new moon, by the way, is at 5:30 a.m. Tomorrow morning. So it's a new moon in Sagittarius, and by the way, this is not sidereal astrology. This is tropical mainstream astrology. It says here, and I'm using the numerologist.com page here, 2015 Astrology Guide. It says, after the deep emotional growth you experienced last month, now you can take your wisdom and knowledge into the world. You will feel a sense of freedom and renewal. If you are craving more adventure or education, explore your options. Connecting with others will lead to expansion of your mind and spirit. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, back to the subject matter. Speaking of using something as a crutch, the chakra system itself. Some would debate whether or not we need chakras. Like George Kavassis, for example, is well known for having said, I don't really believe in using the other chakras other than the heart. I just dissolve, so to speak, my chakras into one, and the one that I dissolve it into is the heart chakra, because I know if I go with the heart all the time, then I can't go wrong. But others would assert that's missing out on all the fun. You want to use your other chakras every so often, just to have a good time and whatnot, and make the most of it, and just go with the heart all the time. It gets kind of dull. So this whole idea as to whether or not we need chakras, or should I say whether or not we should use them, or just go with the heart all the time, do you, again, for lack of a better question, agree or disagree?
And I guess this is the theme of the night. I agree and disagree with that. And it's like I said, for me, that heart chakra is so important. It just deals with a lot of emotions and a lot of things that are important to me. And for others, it may not be, the go-to chakra, if there is a go-to chakra. But I think for each person, depending, and he may not say that 10 years from now, or he may not have said that 5 years ago. And, before I, may have had, I'm digressing here, but I may have, I used to love the color purple, not that I don't now love it. But now I go through different phases, and now I'm not really attracted as much to the color purple. I'm more attracted to the color red and orange. So those are first and second chakras. I don't know that I need help with those two areas. Is it something that's just I don't know how to analyze that, and I just go with the flow basically. But what I can tell you is that if you're going to follow this chakra system, of course, if you don't and you don't believe in it, whether there's no scientific proof of this, unfortunately, there's all sorts of ways that people try to explain it and incorporate it, and it goes back thousands and thousands of years. But is there scientific proof that shows you? No. But there's a lot of things that happen, where you can't necessarily see them, or there's not scientific proof, so to speak. But is it important to have scientific proof for everything? I don't know. To me, not necessarily. I go with what I feel. And whether or not, it's harmless. It's harmless to believe in it. And it's only going to enhance, if you are a student of this, it's only going to enhance your well-being. It's definitely not something that's going to hurt you. There's nothing you could do that would hurt yourself or anyone else with chakra practicing, working on chakra healing. But with the 7 chakras, they all rotate together when they're in balance. Most people have an imbalance. Most chakras are not rotating the way they should or functioning the way they should with the other chakras. And when that occurs, you're in a total state of balance. So do you want to just focus on the 4th chakra all the time and say that it's helping every chakra? Maybe to him, if you really believe that, maybe the power of belief, trumps all that, and maybe it is working. Or maybe it's just that chakra that he really needs to work on, and that's why he's attracted to it. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that go with what you're feeling. And if you're feeling that you need work on your fifth chakra, your fourth chakra, or all your chakras, or you have no idea and you don't care, just go with what you feel, because most of the time what we feel is right, and then our brains, we think about it. And then that's when things, our logic mind is never going to be able to give a logical reason for most of the spiritual things that occur, nor should it.
Funny you mentioned not being able to make sense of spiritual things that occur, because I had that problem not that long ago in the not too distant past when some of my gemstones, well, not gemstones, but ships, I should say, were disappearing, and I couldn't make sense of it. I'd like to tell you what happened, and then maybe see if maybe any of this happened with some of the jewelry you've sold. What happened was I had bought some orgone chips and such from some metaphysical shop that was actually owned by a guest I had on my show, John Thompson, back in the day, and I bought some orgone chips that were designed to be things that you put on like your cell phone or like a computer pad or some electronic thing to prevent the negative EMF frequencies from affecting you in negative ways. That chip was designed to neutralize the energies. And I discovered that a couple of the small chips that you're supposed to put on a cell phone were mysteriously disappearing. One disappeared out of my pocket. Another one I put on the phone when I left the house, and when I came back, it was gone. And interestingly, the first time, another time when I had it disappeared out of a bag when I was on a trip to Georgia for a little bit of a spiritual retreat. And in addition to having the stone disappear out of my bag, my copper Egyptian healing rod had a line on it that I couldn't scrub off. It was a black line, but over the course of the day, it progressively disappeared. The line did on the copper rod, and a couple more times I had those chips disappear. One time when I was in Bermuda and laying on the beach, I tried to make sure I didn't lie down in a way that the chip would fall out of my pocket, but it fell out. Well, it didn't fall out because I made sure that wouldn't happen, but I reached in my pocket and it was gone. Well, I called the person manufacturing these chips. I called John Thompson and his company and asked him, okay, so have any of your other customers complained about things that you sell them disappearing, like my little cell phone EMF protection chips have disappeared? And he said, no one ever has, but my wife actually has had problems like that happen with some of her pendants and such. So he put his wife on the phone. His wife was well-versed in communicating with spirits on the other side, among other things, and she told me that my paternal grandfather, who passed away in the year 2000, was trying to communicate with her to tell her that my guardian angels and spirit guides were the ones taking the chips from me. They were doing it to wake me up to the fact that they're there for me, and I guess that means that they were trying to tell me you don't have to waste your money buying chips like this because we'll be working to protect you from the EMF frequencies. So you just wasted your money. We're here to protect you, and they were basically trying to tell me that when they took the chips from me, although there was no way I would have known that it was them until I spoke to this woman who said that that's what my deceased paternal grandfather, who's on the other side, told her. So now I got to ask you, have you ever had a problem with jewelry disappearing, or have any of your customers called and complained about it by any chance?
You know what? That is very bizarre, because now I don't know why, and even if it is the same reason, or if it goes back to they're not meant to have it, or if it's just a random thing that occurs, losing things. Why do we lose things? I don't know. But to answer your question, yes, that has occurred, and it happened on 2 separate occasions that I'm aware of, and anyone's brought to my attention. Now, of course, it could have happened. I sell jewelry to people that I never see, again. So I don't know if anything has happened to them. But a good friend of mine, actually my boyfriend's sister, purchased a pair of earrings from me, and she has several pairs of jewelry from me, but there was one in particular that she loved. I loved it as well, and it was something very special about these earrings, and they were purple, So we're going to say that they were dealing with, the crown chakra or the third eye chakra. And to me, they were special. And often, I'll make the jewelry, and there's certain things I don't necessarily want to sell, but I know I can't keep everything. And I felt like these were special and someone needed them. So I put them online, and she, of all people, bought them, purchased them. She loved them, and I was really happy that they were, staying with someone I knew. And she lost one. It fell off, and she said she heard it fall at work. She worked small room, so where it fell, and she heard it, but she couldn't find it. She looked for days and days. They swept the room, they cleaned the room. It wasn't there. So where did it go? I don't know. She was devastated. I was kind of upset too, but I can't get attached at that level, to jewelry. But I felt bad more so for her, and that I couldn't replace them and make them again because it was a special vintage piece that there was no way to get it again. Another time is my aunt who purchased 2 pairs of earrings from me here at my house. She was over for dinner. 2 of my aunts were over, and everyone purchased something. They, oohing and eyeing at this and that and picking out their items and so excited. And I wrap everything and put it into a box for them. Well, the one aunt completely and totally lost the jewelry from somewhere between the time she purchased it in my home. So she was outside on our back deck. So somewhere on the back deck, in the house, in her pocketbook, or walking to her car, inside her car or into her home. That's the only spot she went. Couldn't find it. And we tore the house apart. We looked under the deck. We looked everywhere just because I felt so bad. She had bought this, given me the money, and now here it is just vanished. She had no idea. We still, to this day, it was 4 years ago, haven't found that piece of jewelry. And that was something that we would be more likely to find, being that it was in my home, versus the other piece, which was within someone's business. But still, you get the point, the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of paranormal things go on, a lot of potential answers for it, but sometimes you got to communicate with entities on the other side to get the true answer when those things happen. But let's switch gears here. Talk about things other than jewelry. You are a certified massage therapist, but actually, is that the same thing as Reiki, or is that something completely different? Massage therapy and Reiki.
Totally different.
Okay, well,
massage therapy.
All right, start with massage therapy. Yeah, start with massage
therapy.
Therapy,
basically, when you hear, the word massage, I'm going to get a massage. That's massage therapy, and that is a physical form of body work where you are either clothed or unclothed, depending on the type of massage that you get, and we're physically working the muscles. So physically versus energetically, energy transference occurs through the physical working of the muscles and causing an effect in relaxing the muscle. So that's the main difference between massage therapy and Reiki. Whereas Reiki, you're not physically manipulating any muscles or anything other than just gently laying your hands upon, very, very gently, upon the client. And a lot of Reiki practitioners do not even lay their hands on the actual person. Matter of fact, you can do Reiki, and this is why I say that Reiki is incorporated in the jewelry I make, because Reiki is not something that you even have to be physically present to receive the benefits. You can do distant Reiki. You can do Reiki on pets. You can do Reiki. If I could give you a Reiki session, I could give someone in California a Reiki session. I can go back in time and give Reiki to myself, which I have done, in traumatic situations that occurred to me when I was younger. That's a whole, other topic, and of course I'd be more than happy to talk about that if you want, but that's going to be your main difference from massage to Reiki.
All right, and what parts of the body are the best parts to massage if you're doing a massage therapy, or does it depend on the patient and depend on the circumstance?
And it depends on the patient, depends on the circumstance, depends on the type of massage. So a basic massage, the one that most people, if you just go and say, I want a massage, you're going to get a Swedish massage. And what that is gentle, light strokes. So you're going to have all the blood is going to be pushed. You always want to have a massage, and when you're having that massage, you want to have the flows going toward the heart. So you never want to have any sort of pressure going away from the heart, like pushing down the arm towards the hand, for example, pushing down the leg towards the feet. Of course, you can massage down the leg and massage the feet, but always ending stroke that brings the blood towards the heart, keeps it circulating. So what's a good area for massage? Again, it depends. And on a general physical Swedish massage, you're going to get, your head, your neck, your shoulders, your arms, your hands. You're going to get your thighs, your knees, your calves, your feet. And then you're going to turn over onto the table and you're going to receive massage on your back, the back of your legs, and your feet. And of course, it depends on the person, what they want and don't want, but that's your general massage.
All right, let's switch to Reiki. It says Reiki level 2. What's the difference between level 2 and other levels?
So there's level 1, which basically most people say, I'm a Reiki master. And that means that you've mastered Reiki. You've taken the final level of Reiki that there is to take. And I have not taken that. So therefore, to me, I wouldn't feel comfortable saying, I'm a Reiki master. So what do you say? I don't know. I'm a student of Reiki. But it's broken down level-wise from the school and from most schools. From level 1, which is basic Reiki, which is learning what is Reiki, learning about it, learning how to do a treatment on yourself, most importantly, learning, what to do, and then how to do it on someone else. And a huge part of Reiki level 1 is being attuned, which is how you, for all intents and purposes, turn on this universal energy, which everyone has access to. It's turned on. And you're able to channel it and receive it and channel it through others and through yourself. And level 2 goes into treating others, but it also touches on what I mentioned earlier about distance Reiki and being able to heal the world, being able to do a treatment on someone that lives 5,000 miles away, or have, power in numbers, have a bunch of people do Reiki or meditate for, something, and it's just going to intensify the power of that energy. But you also can, like I said, besides distance, you can do cleansing of houses, rooms. You can do Reiki on your food. There's a bunch of people here locally in Philadelphia who do Reiki on shelter animals, and they go once a month and they volunteer and they give Reiki to animals that are in shelters that are either going to be euthanized or are up for adoption. So you can go back in time and do, through meditation, and do Reiki on yourself or others during a traumatic time. So it's very powerful, and you can do a lot with it. And that's what levels 1 and 2 have taught me. And hopefully soon in the near future, I'll complete the final level of Reiki mastery.
Well, why don't you tell us what you would need to do to complete that third level?
Well, it depends on where, who you're learning from. I think I could probably take, one-day course at some hotel or something and be certified. I'd pay $100 or something. But the place I went to is called the Reiki School, and the classes, each class was 3 months, and you met weekly, and you did a lot of work. So what it would take right now for level 3, I know that the last time I was there and contemplating going for the level 3 program, there was a lot of work that was done with hospice and with here locally, again in Philadelphia, with the Abramson Cancer Center. And they're directly affiliated with the Reiki school that I was with, and there was a lot of work done on cancer patients and people that were sick. And I wasn't sure if I was ready for that right then and there. But I've been a massage therapist for 15 years, and I work on people with all sorts of ailments. So I don't know if, I don't know what it is. Maybe it was a money issue. Maybe it was a time issue. So a little bit of everything, but I kind of just shifted focus, and we'll just say that. And to get to Reiki level 3, you just have to take a Reiki mastery course.
Okay, and you say Reiki level 2 certified. Now, this issue of being certified to do something, this is hotly debatable. I mean, in everyday life, when you try to explain something, they'll say, should I use you as a valid source? Do you have a degree in this subject? Or are you certified in this subject? And as soon as the person says, well, no, I just researched the subject in my free time for all intents and purposes, then the people listening will say, well, I'm sorry, you're not certified, you got no degree, so as far as I'm concerned, you're a bad source. Well, even the people that are certified and have degrees, how can they be considered a good source too? If you think about it, you realize that if you were to ask them, well, how did you become certified? I got certified by being taught by someone else who was certified. So you go to that person, how did you get certified? I got certified by being certified by someone else who was certified. If you keep following that pattern, and if you eventually keep going down the line enough, it is unavoidable that you will eventually come to a point where someone says, well, I did not get certified by someone who was certified. The person that certified me was just someone who seemed very well-versed and well-knowledgeable in the subject. Well, the fact that that person who was well-versed and well-knowledgeable in the subject was not certified, one can make the case, okay, then that means everybody else who's all the way down the line up until the present day cannot possibly be considered certified. So I'm sure you get my drift here. How can one make the claim that they are certified when what I just said implies that no one can truly say they are certified?
Okay, so basically when we're talking about a variety of different things, I don't really know the answer to that. I know the answer when it comes to, let's start with massage. In order to practice massage legally, now you want to go illegally, then of course you're dealing with there are no rules and it doesn't matter what you have or do, or it doesn't matter. But if you want to legally practice massage in Pennsylvania, specifically in Philadelphia, you need to be licensed by the state. So how do you get a license? What does it mean to have a license? Same as a driver's license. You need to have credentials. There has to be, a certain amount of hours of schooling. You need certain knowledge. You need to take a test, a really, really hard test. Same thing as, a hairdresser or a beautician. Or a doctor? Not that one's harder than the other, but do you want to go to a doctor who's not licensed, or I don't know if they call it certified, but that's what it is. It's recognized by a certain board of people that give you the okay to do things. And if you mess up, for example, as a massage therapist being licensed, if I'm caught drinking and driving and I get a DUI, I lose my license. Same thing happens with a nurse or a doctor. You can't get a DUI and have a license. You're not allowed. And not only a driver's license, I'm talking about my license to practice massage. It's gone. So there's rules and there's consequences along with licensing and certification. And I guess it makes people feel safe. Okay? But for Reiki, for chakras and things like that, there's no, like you said, there's no, the initial person wasn't certified, and there doesn't fall under a board of, the board of nursing or the board of this or that. With Reiki specifically, there's, depending on the type you're using and practicing, the Usui method, basically you can trace the lineage back to a teacher, the teacher that came up with not necessarily Reiki, but with a method that I myself and a lot of majority of the people that are practicing Reiki are studying. And their teachers were trained. The only way that my certification has a seal. I'm looking at it right now. It's got a gold seal on it from my school. But it's signed here by traditional Reiki master. So you have to be a master, which is what I'm not, in order to certify another. And in order for it to count credential-wise, it has to be affiliated with something that, is affiliatable with. So, for example, another benefit through taking Reiki, I got credit CEUs, which is what you need when you're either a nurse or a massage therapist. In order to stay licensed, you need to take a certain amount of courses every 2 years to keep up with your licensing. So these counted as CEUs towards my massage license. So it was accredited. And that's the best way to answer that question, But yeah, you can get accredited online from anywhere and anything.
Yes, and getting back to what you said about needing a license, well, you say there are laws that say you need a license to be a certified massage therapist. Well, you forgot to mention, Tara, that you do not need a license to be a certified massage therapist who is not getting paid. The cops, the judges, the politicians don't want you to know that there is nothing in life that you need a license for if you are not acting in a commercial capacity. You don't even need a driver's license to use the roads in your own privately owned car unless you are using that privately owned car to transport people or goods for a profit. Now, of course, I'm going to guess you are getting paid to be a certified massage therapist, so yes, you do need a license. But this whole thing about not needing a license to do something that if you're doing it for free, you're not doing it as a business, because you never need a permit or a license if you're not in business. Are there a lot of certified massage therapists in the present day that you know of who are actually doing certified massage therapy for free and basically doing it as a hobby and got a license for it, not realizing that they did not have to do that, get a license simply because they're doing it for free?
No, I don't know anyone that, of course, I know a lot of people that will say, hey, yeah, I'll give you a massage, or they'll be doing some sort of other form of energy work, and yeah, they're not licensed and they're not charging people, and they're providing a service. Maybe it kind of reminds me, like you said, how Venice Beach used to be. I don't know if you have been there, but one side of the street, one side of the beach is all the properties and businesses that need the licenses, and the other side of the boardwalk is all the people selling their goods and the loophole. And there's always, there's loopholes, and you're right. They don't want us to know about the loopholes. They don't want us to know that you don't need a license. I can touch anyone and do anything. And as long as I'm not charging, like you said, then there's no repercussions as far as if anything happens. You can't sue me, and I'm not charging you any money, and all sorts of other things that can occur. You don't need the license, absolutely. Like in Venice Beach, as long as you were on the other side of the boardwalk and you called it a donation. So you said, like, yeah, I'll give you a massage for a donation, card reading, tarot card readings for a donation, paintings for a donation, suggested donation of $15. There's your loophole. You can do anything. If I tried to sell my jewelry on the streets of my city, someone's going to stop me, and they're going to say, where's your license to sell this? And I just have to say, I'm not selling it. I'm giving it away. And I request a $15 donation, please. Same thing.
Thanks. Let's get to some of your other subjects now. Just so you know, we have 25 minutes left on the live feed. Okay. We could go a little past that if we have to, if you need to finish a thought or something. But there's a couple more things you do that I really want to try to fit in here. So, and let's try to keep this to 2 hours, even if we have to go a little over, just for the sake of all those listeners who have lousy attention spans. By the way, speaking of listeners, those two callers who called in actually hung up. I don't know why. I mean, I told them I'd get them on if they waited till 7:15, but I guess they're not coming back. So let's get to some of your other work. Art and photography. Well, photography is an art, but I'm guessing you see something really special in photography since you gave it a category all of itself. It says you're an artist, a photographer, and a vintage collector. So I guess we'll just take photography, and then after that we'll get into some other arts you do. Photography, the thing about photography, very important in remote viewing, because if you see a picture of something and they say remote view this, you have to take into account the time that the picture was taken as part of the remote viewing session. I mean, remote viewing is possible because space and time are illusions, but that does not mean that when it comes to remote viewing photographs and such, you got to take into account the illusionary time, so to speak, that the photograph was taken. I don't know if that ties into your work. I'm just throwing that out there for the sake of an interesting fact. But photography, what is it about photography that you really enjoy doing?
Well, one, I've always enjoyed photography. Just something about, I guess, like you said, capturing for me a moment in time, something that is fleeting. Something that I saw, something that inspired me or scared me, or something that caused a reaction, something that made me say, that would be a really good picture, or I got to get a picture of that. Not so much those special moments, of course, of, celebrations and of your friends and of traveling and things like that. That's photography. That's what people think of when they think of photography. But for me, while I was always attracted to those aspects of photography, the celebrations and the travelings and this and that, the element of just capturing something that is so often overlooked in the world, that's the type of photography I'm into. Things that are random and just, a stain on the street, a leaf that fell into a certain, looks like a neat pattern on the ground. Or I did a whole piece on beauty within decay, and I just took pictures of things that decaying, not actual living things, but things like rust. I love rust. I could photograph rust all day long. Just look at rust. The colors are so exquisite within rust. And to be able to capture that, just a little piece of rust that I saw, exposed on a fence post, if I could capture that in a picture and I could translate those feelings that I felt to the viewer, then I've done my job. And that's kind of what I do. That's my passion with photography, and that's kind of why it got its own category. But I also use it to take pictures of my jewelry and the things that I sell. And it's a wonderful creative outlet. I love to photograph nature, birds, everything.
And I love going out in nature. Definitely very enjoyable. Even in the dead of winter, I'm going out in nature and enjoying it. Going to have some record high temperatures this weekend, though. I think since you live in the area, definitely want to try to get out. You may be able to sunbathe in December for maybe the first time in a blue moon. Yeah, it's going to be like 65 this weekend. But anyway, enough about the weather in our area. Moving on to other subjects, other forms of art that you do. I did a whole show on art that not long ago with a guest who I also met at Free Your Mind. And, well, that was basically the social implications of art and social aspects of it. But what other kind of art besides photography are you into, and why are you into it?
I think art is the most important thing, one of the most important things. Creativity in general, being creative, feeling inspired. It doesn't matter if what you do is good or bad. If another one judges it, somebody judges it and says, that's a piece of shit or whatever. That doesn't matter. It's an expression of one's soul. It's a bearing of one's soul. And there's so many different aspects of art. There's people that are classically trained. There's people that, can paint exquisitely, and then there's someone that's going to splatter paint on the canvas. And I couldn't even possibly begin to debate art right now in the time that we have, nor do we want to. But what kind of art do? I do everything, and I do nothing. I do whatever feels right. I do painting, oil, acrylics, watercolors. I do decoupage, which is cutting out things paper-wise that I've collected over the years, millions of different cutouts of all sorts of different things, and gluing them onto other onto objects and creating something new. I do, mixed media where I'm going to incorporate all sorts of different items, something old, something new, gemstones I incorporate into my art. It's important to me to upcycle because I'm a collector of vintage and old things and, that piece of rope that we found on the ground that we use for the jewelry. I'm a collector of that. If I find something on the ground that's unique and interesting, if I can't use it in a piece of jewelry, I can use it somehow in a piece of art, whether it's glued to something or dangling from somewhere. Life is art, so it's all about art and creating.
All right, we got 19 minutes left on the live feed, and you said you could go into astrology, so I guess we could spend some time talking about it. I just did the horoscope for the new moon tonight. By the way, I don't know if you know this better than I do. How do you determine when is the night of a new or a full moon? Because I said the new moon, totality is at 5:30 a.m. this morning. And one might hear that and say, okay, does that mean tonight is the night of the new moon, or tomorrow night on the 11th? And likewise, I remember not that long ago we had a full moon. It was said to be on Friday the 13th, which seems kind of fitting to have a full moon on Friday the 13th. I don't remember what month it was. But the thing is, the totality for that full moon was actually a little past midnight originally the night of Thursday the 12th going into the Friday the 13th. It was the a little like a few minutes after Thursday the 12th, after midnight, then was the new moon totality very early in the morning on Friday the 13th. But the thing is, people were saying that the night after that, after the whole day of Friday the 13th was up, then night comes. Some people said that was the night of the full moon. So for people that struggle with understanding how do you pinpoint the exact day, how would you determine, astrologically speaking, when the correct day of the new moon or full moon is, if the exact totality is on a borderline time?
Well, again, not an expert in this. What I think I know is that if it occurs, like you said, on after 12 o'clock, then it's clearly occurring the next day. And even majority of, when the new moon rises or when planetary things happens, often with the moon, it happens during the day, like you said, and it often happens it does happen at a specific time, and it's often during the day. But the moon sometimes is visible to us during the day. We don't see it until the night, for the most part. And that's when, for layman's terms, most people are like, it's the night of the full moon. While it already occurred, the actual moon became full at, say, 1:30, the day before, in the morning. They're now saying it's the night of the full moon because it's the first actual darkness after a day. That's what I would imagine, that's why they would say that. But technically, it is occurring at a specific time, whether it's at night or during the day.
Thanks, and you did make it clear when you told me I'm an Aries when I gave you my birthday, and then I told you, well, that's only for tropical astrology. Sidereal astrology, I'm a Pisces, but I always try to make reference to sidereal astrology whenever I talk about astrology, just sort of as a tribute of sorts to Athen Chimenti, who volunteered to be a guest on my show, and it was one of the best interviews I had done, learned all about sidereal astrology, which very few people seem interested in doing for some inexplicable reasons. So the issue of sidereal versus mainstream tropical astrology, the latter of which is the more popular one, and I'm guessing that's the one you go by. Why do you go by that? Why not sidereal?
You know what, don't even have, now I have to say I haven't listened to that interview, and I think maybe, and I'm very easily, I don't want to say I'm easily persuaded, but I'm open to most things. However, some things, and someone would say, may say that about chakras. Like, open to energy, but that's too much, chakras, learning all about that. Or astrology, that's too much. And at this point, I feel like that's too much for me to even contemplate right now. And there's so many other things that I would rather focus on. And, the fact that I said you're an Aries, and I don't know why, and I'm not going to claim that I know a lot about astrology. I know enough, but not enough to verbalize it. Maybe I need to work on that throat chakra. But just more on an intuitive level, I knew that you were in Aries, whether or not that means anything in the schools of astrology. I don't know why I said that, but question is, I don't even have time or want to believe in that other school of astrology. But I'm open to it.
Well, the interview is up on my YouTube channel and also on the Blog Talk archives if you want to check it out. It's Athan Chimenti, Mastering the Zodiac, I believe is in the title, something to that effect. That's his website, masteringthezodiac.com, and he does explain the difference between the two astrologies and why he picks a sidereal. But moving on to some other stuff, I guess we'll go back to astrology if there's any time. One thing I quickly wanted to ask you about, because I see I put this in the title, using Reiki, handmade jewelry, and energy work to empower soul. A lot of people, some say there is a difference, some say there is no difference. Some cultures say, no, they're one and the same. They're just two different words for the same thing. The difference between soul and spirit. Now, Akashic Records reader Andrew Bartzis, who's one of my frequently used sources, if not the most frequently used on my show, in a question and answer session one of the questions asked was, what's the difference between soul and spirit? And I don't remember everything he said. He speaks from sacred neutral perspective, but in a nutshell, he said you can think of spirit as the fuel that gives life to the soul. Do you agree or disagree with that claim?
Again, I'm going to both agree and disagree. To me, where I can see that is really a rather valid explanation. To me, soul and spirit, in the way that I say jewelry, handmade jewelry with soul, that's where we're getting that from. They're the same thing. And the soul that I speak of is the love and energy that I put into the jewelry, which we actually haven't, maybe, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but the name of my my jewelry company is called Vivacious Variations. And that basically encompasses that it's a variety of things you're going to get. And they're going to be vivacious because I myself am vivacious. I'm showy. While I'm spiritual, I'm also showy and vivacious and sharp. And I want a woman to feel beautiful when she's wearing, or a man when they're wearing my jewelry. So that's where the name came from, and that's what I mean when I say soul. Jewelry, with soul, it's with heart, and it's meant for a soulful purpose to you. In addition to the beauty of it, there's also a deeper meaning behind it if you choose to follow that.
By the way, speaking of meaning behind something, they say there's always a meaning in your name. I'm looking at your last name, Goldenberg, seeing that there must be some significance, but I find the fact that the word gold or golden is in there. Are you by any chance any expert on the significance behind names and what the significance behind your last name having the word gold in it might be?
I'm not, but again, it is something that I've looked into, studying the meaning of names and the interpretation of names, and there's so many different schools on that level and so many different traditions, associated with names, but, more so with first names. But, oddly enough, and I'm sure other people have realized this too, that there's a lot of people, with last names that have something to do with what they do, and why is that? Because, my last name passed down from years and years and years of tradition, and as far as I know, none of my relatives worked with any sort of jewelry or gold. Yet I am. But what Goldenberg I think means is golden mountain, basically, and just strength. So yeah, I don't know, but I think that's funny. I had off topic. Took vocal lessons from a gentleman named Harold Singer, and he was a voice teacher for 50 years. He gave voice lessons, and that was his last name. So it's pretty funny.
Let's get back to jewelry for a moment, because I'm looking at the title. I said using Reiki, handmade jewelry and energy work. Handmade jewelry, one could certainly imagine how jewelry that's handmade is definitely going to have a higher metaphysical energy to it than jewelry that is made by some sort of a machine. And of course, lots of handmade workers from the old days have lost their jobs because machines have taken over. That's, among other things, that's true in glass blowing. No more glass blowers nowadays. But the issue of using handmade jewelry versus well, actually, here's one way of looking at this that I want to bring up to your attention. I've often used about this when the difference between synthetic and non-synthetic natural psychoactive substances, and which one would be better to take for a spiritual experience. Well, let me start with that. Let's say you got magic mushrooms that are natural but have not received any sort of a blessing, and then you got mushrooms, or more specifically the chemicals in magic mushrooms, that were synthesized in a lab, and those synthesized mushrooms received a blessing from like a shaman or someone. Now, most people would say go with the natural instead of the synthetic. You can't go wrong that way. But one might be tempted and say, no, wait a minute, the natural stuff wasn't blessed, didn't receive like a cleansing or a healing from the shaman, but the synthetic stuff did. Maybe I'll take the synthetic stuff instead, because the fact that it was blessed means I'll get a better experience, a more spiritual and shamanic experience. Likewise, one would think maybe the same is true with jewelry. They would be tempted to naturally go with the handmade jewelry, but let's say the handmade jewelry did not receive any sort of a blessing or whatnot when it was made, and jewelry that was not handmade, made by some sort of a sophisticated machine or something, if that jewelry did receive a blessing after it was manufactured, one could make the case you definitely don't want to go with the handmade jewelry because it didn't receive a blessing. So now that I brought up that example to your attention, would you still say, oh yeah, always go with handmade, you can't go wrong, or maybe in psychoactive substance case, always go with the natural one? Or do you think, yes, if the one that's not handmade receives a blessing, then the handmade one doesn't, then yeah, you should not go with the handmade, go with the the big machine manufactured one?
Okay, well, first I want to clarify, when I say handmade, I'm not forging the metal, not cutting out the ear hooks, and making, I'm not doing that. So in that essence, it's not handmade. I'm not digging and mining for the jewels and whatnot. But how it is handmade, and obviously I know that you know that, and most of the viewers know that. I'm not, using wood beads and chopping down trees. But I'm taking the actual bead that was, I guess, manufactured by a machine or a person at one point, that I've now acquired, and I am blessing it. So, and I am taking things apart and reassembling them and adding to and painting and making something from something else. So in essence, while it didn't start out maybe handmade, it became handmade in the process of me putting it together, painstakingly incorporating this and just really allowing it to decide who it wanted to go on the bracelet with or the earring with, what stone wanted to go with who. And I, tried different combinations till we got there. The only part that's completely handmade, I do some things made from clay, but then again, I'm not harvesting the clay from the ground. I've bought it from the store, and I'm shaping it, molding it. So I don't know, is anything actually really ever handmade? But it becomes handmade. And I think it's always better to buy local from people who put time, energy, and love into the things that they do and make and produce. And that's who I like to buy from, and that's who I think that you should buy from. And you get the best of all those worlds when you buy from me.
Yes, and noticing that your site is vivaciousvariations.etsy.com, the word variations, I'm guessing that implies that you're the kind of person that does subscribe to the notion that variety is the spice of life, and if you don't have variety, things are going to get kind of dull. Would I be correct in my presumption there?
You are correct, and I also left, with the variation, there's going to be a lot more coming to that website. My next large project I'm working on is making headdresses and crowns, different things that will adorn your head. And so that's going to be a variation. I'm also going to be making sun catchers and mobiles, incorporating a lot of the chakra stones and elements. So these are going to be things that if you don't want to wear the jewelry but you want to have the healing effects of it, we can, hang them and display these works of art in your house. So that's also going to be coming within the next few months. So keep an eye out for that. And that's really the variation.
Okay, and thank you very much. I don't know if there's really any time to discuss any more subjects. There's only 3 minutes and 50 seconds left on the live feed, so I guess I'll bring the show to an end now, and I'll do that by telling you the same thing I tell all of my guests, and that is that while I have no doubt that I could do another interview with you, and you are indeed a fascinating individual who's worthy of having a lot of shows and getting a lot of good information out, the fact is one of my goals with this radio show is to get as many different people on my show as possible before giving any one specific guest double dips, because I feel that is the fairest, most impartial, and most informative way of doing a radio show. So as a result, Tara, I loved having you on, but I probably won't be asking you to come on my show again, but that's only because I need to give thousands of other fascinating individuals the chance to have some glory on my radio show. And well, actually, it's kind of ironic I say that, because the guest I'm supposed to have on next, he made it very clear during the show that he really wanted to come on again to discuss another subject that there wasn't time for. So at that point, I pretty much had no choice to let him come on for an hour show, which I'm going to be doing within the next couple of days. And don't get me wrong, if you ever want to come on my show again to discuss new findings or something significant, like maybe new jewelry that you manufacture with a whole new set of metaphysical properties that you really want to get out to the world, by all means give me a call, and I can certainly schedule a half an hour to an hour long show with you. But as far as one-on-one interviews, contacting the same guest over, that's not my thing. I'm on a mission to keep getting different people on as much as possible. So, but again, I wish
totally
you luck.
Understand.
Yeah, I wish your work.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and I will make sure that this interview does get spread out far and wide for a lot of people to hear. I'll upload it to YouTube, and, of course, there will be an archive on Blog Talk. So I guess without further ado, I will bid you good day, and I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors and your future sales. And I have no doubt that you will be seeing an increase in your pocketbook load and the amount of money you get, because people will want to buy off you after they listen to this fascinating interview.
Andrew, thank you very much, and continue doing what you're doing. And I'm definitely going to check out the programs you've mentioned, and highly recommend that others listen to you as well. And have a great night.
Have a great new moon night, or maybe tomorrow night's the night of the new moon. Whatever. We already debated that. Okay. Take care, Tara. Namaste.
Bye-bye.
Later. So, folks, that is the end of this show. And again, I will actually be having a guest on twice. Exception there. Ted Marr will be coming on for half an hour to an hour. Wanted to do it tomorrow night, but he had to postpone that. It's either going to be Monday or Tuesday of next week. So next show, Ted Marr is a guest again. He said, among other things, he wanted to talk about the science between black holes, dark matter, and dark energy. So that will be one thing we discuss. Don't know, again, if it'll be an hour, half an hour to an hour, sometime in that time frame, but we'll just see how it goes. Ted Marr will be on next Monday or Tuesday, and I'm actually not so sure who's going to be on Wednesday. I do have a guest. I just forgot who I scheduled, because I schedule guests so far in advance. So that is the end of the show, everybody. This is Andrew Fisher signing off from Nature of Reality Radio. Enjoy New Moon Night, be it tonight or tomorrow, or well, we're all going to debate this. When is the night of the new moon? Who really cares? As long as you know the time of the totality, that's really what's important, because 12-hour time frame before and after a new and full moon, they say, is when the energies are, when you really want to do your spiritual work. So it's 5:30 a.m. Make the most of that. Make sure you sleep well. Maybe you'll have a dream at that time. But I, of course, will be sleeping. But anyway, this is Andrew Fisher signing off. I've babbled long enough. Enjoy the rest of your trek out infinite consciousness, everybody. Namaste.